Have you ever stopped to think how the Ravens' defense became one of the most feared in the NFL? It wasn't magic or luck. It was a slow, precise build, like putting together a puzzle where every piece had to fit just right. The right players, brilliant coaches, and a culture that refuses anything less than excellence. But what really turned this defense into a wall that's nearly impossible to break through? What did the Ravens do differently to reach this level? The answer lies in bold decisions, leaders who changed the course of the franchise, and a mindset no other team has managed to replicate. Stay with me until the end, because every detail of this story will show you that this defense isn't just good, it's special, and the road to get here was more intense than most people realize. Go Ravens! Longtime Ravens fans know exactly what it feels like to see a dominant defense on the field. That sense that even if the offense wasn't clicking, the defense would hold it down no matter what. For a while, we lost that edge. The defense felt like it was missing that fire, that soul that always defined our team. But in recent years, that essence came roaring back. Baltimore's defense found its face again, its personality, and most of all, its respect. The big shift started when the coaching staff stopped trying to reinvent what already worked. Instead of chasing gimmicks, they looked back and asked, why was our defense always so feared? The answer was simple. It was physical, disciplined, and played angry. Not angry in a reckless way, but with that burning desire to win every snap, every inch of the field. That spirit came back through hard training, internal accountability, and a standard of excellence no one wanted to fall below. You can see it in the way players line up. No more easy yards, no more lazy missed tackles. They hit hard, get up fast, and get ready for the next one. Communication has also stepped up. Everyone knows where the others will be. That kind of trust only comes when you operate as one. This defense talks, adjusts, and moves like a unit. No one stand out alone, because it's the group that shines. Another key element is mentality. This defense steps on the field, believing it can win the game. That changes everything. When an entire unit plays with that confidence, the opponent feels it. Opposing quarterbacks walk in knowing they'll take hits. Running backs think twice before attacking the middle. Wide receivers know a safety is waiting to hit them hard. That's what's always been part of the Ravens' soul, making the other side think twice before coming at us. But it's not just about attitude. Discipline is back on top. Penalties are down, coverage is tighter, and blown reads are rare. That's not just on the players. It's a result of a system that values doing the basics right. Simple things, when executed perfection, are more powerful than flashy plays that collapse the defense. Baltimore figured that out. We're back to being a team that plays tough, focused, and doesn't leave anything to chance. Seeing that identity back on the field feels like rediscovering a part of who we are. The fans feel it. M&T Bank Stadium is back to erupting on third downs, back to roaring with every sack, every turnover. It's like the whole city found a piece of its soul again. Defense isn't just one part of the team. It represents who we are, tough, intense, and ready for battle every single week. And for that identity to return this strong, one thing was absolutely essential: hitting the bullseye in the draft. That's where some of the most important pieces of this rebuild first arrived. Building a dominant defense starts before the first practice. It starts at the draft. And this is where the Ravens once again prove they know how to identify defensive talent like no one else. Baltimore has an impressive history of nailing their picks, and in recent years, that's become even clearer. Every selected player seemed tailor-made for the team system. It wasn't about picking the best name available. It was about picking the right name to play like a Raven. Kyle Hamilton is perhaps the clearest example of this. When he fell into our lap, many people couldn't believe it. A safety with that size, football IQ, and versatility doesn't come around every year. But the Ravens saw more than just stats. They saw a smart, physical player who was eager to learn. Today, he's a crucial piece, lining up in multiple positions, covering the entire field, and commanding respect on every snap. Another name worth highlighting is Patrick Queen, drafted to be the engine in the middle of the defense. He had his ups and downs early on, but the talent was always there. Over time, he adjusted, improved his reads, and became a true hunter on the field. His speed and aggressiveness brought new energy to the group, and his evolution proves how well the coaching staff develops the talent they draft. But it wasn't just first-round picks that made an impact. Players like Justin Madabike, Odafe Owa, and Brandon Stevens arrived with less hype but tons of potential. And the Ravens, with their sharp scouting department, spotted that before anyone else. Each of them fit perfectly into the defensive plan. Constant quarterback pressure, smart coverage, and the versatility to change the game when needed. The secret to these picks isn't just physical talent. It's the kind of mindset the Ravens look for. They want players who love the game, who study film, who analyze opponents, who don't complain about roles, and who accept any responsibility that helps the team win. That creates a culture of total commitment. The draft in Baltimore isn't about finding individual stars. It's about finding warriors willing to fight side by side. This sharp eye also comes from strong synergy between the front office and coaching staff. Eric DeCosta and John Harbaugh work hand in hand, with a clear vision. Build a roster that plays with heart and intelligence. And when that synergy clicks, the results show up on the field. The defense begins forming with that first phone call on draft night, and every hit, there's another puzzle piece locking into place. But even with smart picks, a strong roster isn't built on the draft alone. That's where the next key part of the rebuild comes in. Surgical moves and free agency that brought experience and leadership to the group. And can you see how these draft picks change the way the defense plays? Drop a comment if you notice the impact young guys like Hamilton and Queen had right away, or if you remember another rookie who transformed the team that fast. Let's talk about it below. Building a strong defense takes more than draft success. You need to find the right pieces in free agency, guys who come in to contribute, fill gaps, and raise the group's level without breaking the team's balance. And that's exactly what the Ravens have done in recent years. Every signing was thoughtful, strategic, and backed by a keen eye for fitting the right player in the right spot. The best example of the surgical approach is one name, Roquan Smith. When he arrived, the Ravens' defense immediately took a leap. And it wasn't just his on-field skills. It was what he brought to the locker room. Roquan is the type of player who changes the tone of a team. He commands, he directs, he sets the tempo. His presence at the heart of the defense brought leadership, football IQ, and a wave of confidence that spread through the entire unit. But Roquan wasn't alone. Baltimore also brought in key reinforcements, experienced veterans, and players overlooked by other teams. The goal was never to sign flashy names for headlines. It was to bring in players with the right mentality, a hunger to win, and the ability to execute the game plan without ego. Players like Marcus Williams, for instance, arrive and fit the system like they've been here for years. These moves prove the Ravens know how to spend wisely. Instead of throwing millions at big names, they chose to invest strategically, keeping cap flexibility while building strength across all areas. The result is a tight-knit group where every piece has a clear role and no one is just going through the motions. Another key benefit: these players brought stability to positions that used to be question marks. With Roquan, the middle of the defense became consistent. With Marcus Williams, the deep coverage gained security that allowed younger players like Hamilton and Queen to play with more freedom and confidence, knowing they had solid veterans backing them up. These signings also brought maturity to the group. When games get tight, it's these veterans who take charge, organize the unit, and keep everyone focused. That creates a critical balance. Youth with explosion and experience with emotional control. A defense aiming to be the NFL's best needs that exact combination. But all this only works because, beyond signing well, the Ravens also know how to develop talent from within. And that quiet, behind-the-scenes work is what ultimately shaped the dominant defense we see today. Drafting and signing the right players is essential, but it means nothing if the team doesn't know how to refine that potential. And this is exactly where the Ravens stand out like few others in the NFL. The internal work of developing players is quiet, patient, and incredibly effective. Baltimore doesn't just find good talent. They turn good players into key pieces within a system that demands excellence in every detail. One of the secrets behind this success is coaching continuity. Instead of overhauling everything each season, the Ravens keep a stable core of coaches who deeply understand the system, the players, and the team's identity. This creates an environment where athletes can grow steadily, without having to relearn everything all the time. The message is clear. If you wear purple, you're going to evolve. The development of players like Justin Madden and Brandon Stevens is a direct reflection of this work. Madden, for instance, came into the league as a promising defensive line prospect, but has since become one of the most impactful pass rushers. And that didn't happen by accident. It came from training, film study, weekly corrections, and attention to detail, the kind of growth that only happens when there's a strong developmental structure in place. The same goes for Brandon Stevens, who entered the league as a cornerback, was tested at safety, and ultimately became a versatile, reliable piece in the secondary. Ravens coaches aren't afraid to adapt players to the system's needs, and they do it with care and responsibility. They don't force fits. They mold the system to maximize each player's talent. That philosophy creates a virtuous cycle. The player sees they'll improve here, so they give even more themselves. And once that becomes part of the culture, rookies show up already knowing they need to fully commit. This isn't a team where you survive on raw talent alone. Here, you study, listen, and execute. That's why even when the stars go down, the defense remains competitive. The entire group has been trained to rise when needed. The result is a defense with depth and high technical quality at every level. Every player who steps onto the field looks ready. There's no last-minute scrambling. There's constant preparation. It highlights the value of a coaching staff that doesn't just work for Sunday. They build every snap from preseason to playoffs with discipline and long-term vision. And when development is done right, the team gains something even more valuable: depth at every position. A defense isn't strong just because of its starters. It's strong when everyone on the roster can contribute without lowering the level of play. Well, we're heading into the fifth topic now. But before we move on, I notice you haven't liked this video yet. That's super important so YouTube keeps recommending this content to you, and that way I can keep bringing you the best Baltimore Ravens coverage. So hit that like button. It's free, all right? Let's keep going. A dominant defense doesn't survive with just 11 players. You need a strong bench, a balanced roster, and a smart rotation to keep the tempo up throughout the game and the entire season. That's exactly what the Ravens have built. A group where the drop-off between starters and backups is minimal and where everyone knows exactly what to do when called upon. Depth has become one of the greatest weapons in Baltimore's defensive system. It all starts on the defensive line. Players like Justin Madden, Michael Pierce, Broderick Washington, and Travis Jones rotate constantly, keeping the line fresh and explosive. This allows the team to apply relentless pressure on opposing quarterbacks without running out of gas as the game progresses. Even more, the rotation prevents physical wear and tear, which makes a big difference during the critical moments of the season, especially in the playoffs. The same applies to the edge rushers. Odafe Oweh, David Ohabo, and Kyle Van Noy are used strategically based on the opponent and game situations. None of them needs to play every snap to make an impact. This intelligent use of personnel shows how well the coaching staff understands each athlete's strengths and knows how to utilize them without pushing anyone beyond their limits. It's pure planning. And the most interesting part is that this rotation isn't only about physical need. It's a tactical decision. Baltimore changes formations, pressures from different sides, and confuses quarterbacks with constant movement. That's only possible when you have versatile and well-prepared players. Depth on paper means nothing if your backups can't execute with precision. The Ravens ensure that through training and discipline, this rotation also builds a strong collective spirit. Everyone knows they're going to play. Everyone knows they're part of the plan. There's no solo superstar or inflated ego. It's a group fully committed to unit success. That reinforces the team's identity and creates a defense that plays united, aggressively, and without relying on one single name. It's a system built to withstand the longest season in NFL history. Another important point is how this depth affects opponents. The offense on the other side never gets a break. Even when they rotate their running backs or try to exploit mismatches, the Ravens' defense always has a response. The team rotates, adjusts, and stays strong. Few teams can sustain that kind of physical and mental consistency for 4 quarters. Baltimore can, and that makes a huge difference. And this rotation, combined with a versatile roster, becomes even more dangerous when commanded by someone who understands the game like few others. And it was precisely that tactical command from the sideline that turned this defense into a coordinated and ruthless machine. Behind every great defense, There's a mind that organizes the chaos. And in Baltimore, that mind belongs to Mike Macdonald. When he took over as defensive coordinator, he brought new energy and new philosophy, and a level of demand that quickly transformed the way the team behaved on the field. Macdonald didn't just reorganize the system. He rebuilt the identity of the defense with intelligence, boldness, and an obsessive attention to detail. Macdonald's edge lies in how he adapts the system to his players, not the other way around. He studies the talent he has, understands each player's strengths, and designs schemes that amplify those abilities. This allowed players like Kyle Hamilton to operate in multiple roles, and guys like Roquan Smith and Patrick Queen to shine with freedom and precision. It's not a rigid system. It's a living plan that evolves week after week. Another impressive aspect of Macdonald's work is his ability to confuse opposing quarterbacks. He uses hybrid formations, disguised blitzes, and pre-snap movement that force the offense to hesitate before acting. The result? Often, the opponent has no idea where the pressure is coming from. And when they realize it, it's already too late. This level of tactical complexity turns every play into a mental challenge for whoever's under center. Macdonald also brought something fans have been craving for a while: smart aggression. Instead of dialing up blitzes nonstop, he chooses his moments with surgical precision. And when he does, the impact is immediate. This defense doesn't just play to contain. It plays to decide games. That was clear in the forced turnovers, third down sacks, and dominant performances against some of the league's top offenses. But perhaps the most admirable part of Macdonald's work is the standard of preparation he demands. There's no freelancing without study. Every player takes the field knowing exactly what they need to do in every situation. That's why the defense looks so synchronized. Every movement has a purpose. Every alignment has a reason. It's high-level chess, played with controlled brutality. This sophistication also had a deep emotional effect on the players. Knowing they're being coached by someone who deeply understands the game earns respect and commitment. Macdonald won over the locker room not just with tactics, but with leadership and vision. The result was a defense that played with confidence, discipline, and a hunger to win, a unit that believed in the plan from the first snap to the last. And that plan only worked so well because the leadership on the field aligned with the leadership on the sideline, which brings us to the final point in this defensive equation: the culture of accountability, collective effort, and identity that defines what it means to be a Ravens defender. And if you've made it this far, drop a comment saying, "Mike Macdonald left a legacy in Baltimore." That way I'll know you truly recognize the massive impact he had in building this defense before heading to Seattle. Let's keep going. There are good defenses. There are dominant defenses. But only a few have a true identity, something that goes beyond schemes or individual talent. And the Ravens are part of that elite group. In Baltimore, playing defense isn't just a role. It's a symbol of belonging. There's a culture passed through generations, built on sweat, discipline, and a quiet obsession with excellence. The Ravens' defense isn't a part of the team. It is the soul of it. This identity was born years ago with names like Ray Lewis and Ed Reed, and remains alive today because it was never based solely on star players. It was based on principles. Maximum effort on every snap, constant communication, trust in the system, and above all, individual responsibility within a collective mission. When someone wears a purple jersey and lines up on defense, they know they're carrying a legacy, and they have to honor it with attitude and effort. You can see it in how today's players carry themselves. Roquan Smith leads like a true general. Kyle Hamilton handles multiple roles with maturity and aggression. Madden plays like he's on a mission. Even the young guys come in with the right mindset. It doesn't matter if you're a rookie or a veteran. Here, playing defense is personal. It's a pack with a franchise's history and with a fan base that expects fire in your eyes on every down. That culture also shapes how the team responds to mistakes. When the defense slips, there are no excuses, only corrections. Film, practice, adjustments. There's no room for ego, only mutual accountability. And that transparency creates an environment where everyone grows. It's the kind of culture you can't buy and you can't teach in a month. It's built over time, sustained by leaders, and reinforced every season by new additions. The fans feel it too. When the Ravens make a big defensive play, it's not just a stadium that erupts, it's the entire city. Because this defense represents Baltimore. Tough, resilient, strategic. That's why the team has remained competitive even in tough years. A strong defensive foundation has always been a rock in times of transition, and it continues to be the difference maker in their most successful seasons. And more than that, this culture feeds itself. When a player arrives in Baltimore, they quickly realize this place is different. There's no room for those who won't commit. That attracts the right type of athlete and filters out the ones who aren't ready to embrace the system's intensity. That's why, even as rosters naturally change, the defense keeps its essence. Because what's passed down isn't just tactics. It's a way of seeing the game. With everything we've discussed, one thing is clear. The Ravens' defense is no accident or lucky streak. It's the direct result of a strong culture, smart decisions, and an identity forged over decades. And the real question is, will this culture be strong enough to keep the Ravens at the top of the NFL in the coming years? Everything we've seen so far shows just how much this Ravens defense was shaped by intelligence, courage, and a quiet obsession with excellence. It wasn't built overnight. It was constructed layer by layer, with era-defining leaders, surgical tactical adjustments, and a mindset that refuses to accept mediocrity. This defense became far more than an efficient system. It became the team's signature. And the question that remains is, with such a solid foundation, just how far can the Ravens still go? If you also see this defense as the engine that drives the team, leave your thoughts in the comments and show how essential it is to Baltimore's success. We all know the story of this purple wall is far from over, and every detail matters.
And if you, just like me, are passionate about the world of football and want to learn more about the Ravens' legacy, don't leave this video without sharing it with that friend who is also a Baltimore Ravens fan and will love this content. See those video suggestions on your screen? The first one was handpicked just for you, and the other is a recommendation from YouTube itself. See you there, and until the next video, go Flock.